Okay, so thanks again for coming today. My name is Robin Lee Feibel. I'm an Associate Director at Columbia's Center for Undergraduate Global Engagement. I work with all of our Columbia-led programs in Asia, including our Kyoto Consortium for Japanese Studies. And our office, also known as UGE, is the office on campus at Columbia who works with all students interested in studying abroad and pursuing global opportunities. So today I'm going to start with an overview of our KCJS fall, spring, and academic year program, since our spring 2022 deadline is coming up pretty soon. And then I will give a brief overview of our summer options. So our KCJS program has been running for over 30 years. Some of you may already know, since your homeschools belong to the consortium, that KCJS is a consortium of 13 American universities. Columbia serves as the lead administrative institution of this consortium, and we work with the KCJS staff on site in Kyoto and our board of delegates members from each consortium school to oversee all aspects of the program. If you do participate in KCJS, you have the opportunity to study alongside other students from the various consortium schools noted here. But we also welcome applications from students who attend schools from outside of the consortium. So our program is based at Doshisha University, which is a private institution in Kyoto. The founder of Doshisha actually attended a small liberal arts school in the United States. So the campus kind of resembles a US university, which is kind of different from the other larger public institutions in Japan. Doshisha has about 29,000 students, and it offers undergraduate and graduate programs in the humanities, social sciences, and natural sciences. Our KCJS office and classrooms are centrally located in Kyoto on the Imadegawa campus of Doshisha, right near the Imperial Palace grounds and the Shokokuji Temple. So we have a full KCJS staff on site in Kyoto. This includes administrative staff as well as instructors in Kyoto. Some members have been with our program since the start, in 1989, which is really amazing to have that level of dedication and commitment to the program. Some of our staff have even seen individuals from the same family complete the program. So we had a mother, complete the program in the 90s, and then her daughter follow in her footsteps about 15 years later. So the program really has a long-standing history in Kyoto. Our staff there have deep ties and a lot of connections in Kyoto, which students can really benefit from. They have a great deal of experience, as you can imagine, welcoming and supporting study abroad students. And they also love to maintain strong ties with KCJS alumni. Okay, so as I mentioned, I'm going to start with an overview of the semester and academic year program. And as you know, it's really been a rough year and a half as the pandemic has impacted all of us in so many ways. And we haven't had students on site in Kyoto since spring of 2020, but we are hoping to resume in-country programming in spring 2022. So I'm just going to talk about the program itself first, and then I'll address the current situation in Kyoto and kind of how to look at study abroad planning in the age of COVID. So these are the major components of our semester and academic year program. So first, all students will take one Japanese language course, and you can choose from second, third, or fourth year Japanese. Classes are taught for 2 hours a day in the morning, 5 days a week. And you do have the opportunity to complete a full year of Japanese in one semester. And students will earn 8 points for the Japanese language course. The next component are the 2 disciplinary courses, which are taught in English, and these take place in the afternoons. So these will meet either twice a week for 90 minutes each or once a week for 3 hours. So these disciplinary courses really complement your Japanese language courses. They provide opportunities for experiential learning, and they really allow you to use Kyoto as your classroom. A highlight of these courses are that you actually get to study alongside some local Japanese students from Doshisha University or Kyoto University. And again, it's just a handful, probably under 5, per semester. But that is a nice option to interact and work with these students. And so students earn 4 points each for each disciplinary course. Students will also have access to a limited number of courses through the Associated Kyoto program or the AKP program. And this is another study abroad program on the Doshisha campus. So we started this partnership a few years ago where AKP and KCJS students can cross-register in each other's courses. And I'll show a couple of course samples on the next slide. But this is nice as it kind of expands your course options in English a little bit. You can also do an independent study as one of your 2 disciplinary courses if you'd like. So you can explore, a specific research topic in depth. A lot of students who plan to write a senior honors thesis at their home school have taken advantage of this independent study as an opportunity to, collect materials or data that they might otherwise not have access to in the United States. And then the final component of the KCJS curriculum is the Community Involvement Project, or the CIP. So all students are required to participate in the CIP as part of the Japanese language program. So by developing direct and meaningful ties with Japanese locals, you'll really learn how to put your language skills to real use in tangible ways that also relate to your own interests. So there are a lot of cool activities that you can get involved with your CIP. You should definitely, if you haven't done so already, check out the CIP blog noted here on the screen. And this is off of the main KCJS website. And you'll get to hear directly from students about their experiences and kind of what they did for their CIPs. So CIPs usually fall into some broad categories. The first is volunteering in various local community organizations. So some students in the past have volunteered at schools, museums, kindergartens, local NGOs, things like that. The second category is the option to participate in student clubs or circle activities at local universities, including Doshisha and Kyoto University. So in the past, some students have joined, the ballroom dancing circle, the anime circle, and have done figure skating, things like that. Another category for the CIPs are you can focus and study a particular skill. And these usually fall within the traditional arts of Japan, such as martial arts or learning a musical instrument. And then the final category is working or having an assistantship at a local school as an English teacher. And so again, these are kind of the broad categories for CIPs. You're not necessarily limited to these. Some past students have already had some connections in Kyoto, before they even got there. And so they've proposed their own CIPs according to their interests and again, their own connections. So this can be an option for you as well. And here's just kind of a sampling of the disciplinary courses we will have on offer for spring 2022. So you can kind of get a sense of the different subject areas here. I did just want to point out number 4 and 5, the project-based courses, just to give you an idea of what these are. The project-based Japanese for intermediate level students is where you'll get to examine and discuss various contemporary social issues in the classroom. So for this, students will get to plan and conduct a workshop on a social issue of their choice. And then number 5 here, the project-based Japanese for those with advanced language skills. This is great if you're interested in conducting research and want to improve your interview skills. This course would allow you to conduct interviews with a person of your choice and share your findings via articles and a presentation. So a class like this, can really enable you to find your own voice in Japanese and connect with the local Kyoto community. And again, these are some of the courses on offer through AKP, through the Associated Kyoto program. Again, KCJS does have limited spots for our students in these courses, so we will find out soon which ones are open to KCJS students in the spring. And then moving on to student activities and extracurriculars, our instructors really try to take advantage of Kyoto as a classroom and incorporate different field trips into their courses. Next spring, depending on the state of the pandemic in Japan, there might be some modifications to field trips, which is just something to keep in mind. We usually have one overnight trip planned for the spring. And again, trips out of Kyoto will depend on local regulations. So we will need to see if this will be possible for this spring term. But just to give you an idea, past group trips in the spring have included Nagasaki, Hiroshima, and Takamatsu. There'll also be a number of extracurricular activities that will allow you to hear from local experts, connect with local university students, and gain insight into Japanese culture. So we'll move on to housing. If you've looked into the KCJS program before, you probably already know that homestays and getting to live and know a local family are usually a highlight of the program. And again, due to COVID, we may need to make modifications to the housing options for spring, which might eliminate homestays for this semester. So if this is the case, single apartments would be the only housing option for spring. So students would be, you'd be living on your own in a furnished apartment, which would include a kitchen. We generally try to place groups of about 2 to 3 students in the same apartment building where possible. And the apartments we use are spread throughout the city of Kyoto and are usually located about a 20 to 30-minute commute from KCJS. Students will need to make breakfast and dinner on their own if they live in apartments, but will be given a subsidy from KCJS for lunch costs. And living in a single apartment by yourself would also allow each student to quarantine and isolate, if this does become necessary, if students experience COVID symptoms or, test positive while they're on site. Okay, so planning in the age of COVID. So looking at the current situation in Japan, as many of you may already know, Japan currently has a travel ban on all travelers from the US and about 150 other countries. So their borders are essentially still closed. In late August, the government of Japan expanded its state of emergency to the end of this month, to the end of September. And this applies to 19 prefectures, including Kyoto and Tokyo. So this, generally means that citizens there in Japan are requested to avoid non-essential outings and travel between prefectures. Restaurants and bars have limited hours, and a lot of businesses are asked to reduce their in-office workforces by up to 70%. And just to give you a sense of what's happening at our host institution at Doshisha, international students. So these are international students, through other overseas universities, not coming to KCJS, but international students who were accepted to start in April 2021, so a couple months ago, are still not allowed to enter, and they're waiting to be cleared for entry. So those students took classes online for their first semester. And then all students studying in Kyoto for the semester will need a student visa. So we're also continuing to monitor information from the various Japanese consulates about when visa processing will resume, as this is currently suspended at the moment. So all of this is to say that we're continuing to keep our fingers crossed that there will be positive developments over the coming months. We'll continue to look at entry restrictions, visa processing for Japan, as well as Doshisha's guidelines for incoming international students. And just to let you know about our timeline, Columbia and KCJS plan to make a final decision about the spring 2022 program in late October and early November. Oh, forgot. And then again, if the program is a go and we can run it on site in Kyoto for the spring, please know that KCJS does have a vaccination requirement in place for the health and safety of all of our participants. So all students participating in the program will need to be vaccinated before leaving for Japan. So for now, we really encourage you to stay in touch with your homeschool study abroad office. If you're not a Columbia student, you know, many schools still have international travel restrictions in place. So you'll need to monitor what your homeschool will allow for next spring. And since there's still a lot of uncertainty surrounding next semester, we also encourage you to have a backup plan, you know, a backup study abroad program, or think about a future term if that could work for you. Okay, so looking at the eligibility for our semester and academic year programs, to be eligible, we're looking for students who are currently enrolled undergraduates in good academic and disciplinary standing. You have to have completed at least 1 year for the fall term program, and then 3 semesters of college level Japanese for the spring semester. We're also looking for students with a minimum of a 3.0 cumulative average GPA, as well as a 3.0 average GPA in your Japanese language courses. Okay. Looking at program costs, again, this is for spring 2022. All students will have to pay a program fee, and this generally covers costs like housing, some meals, program activities, trips, and student services fees. This was approximately around $6,000 previously. The final program fee for spring 22 will be set later this fall. In terms of tuition, if you're a Columbia or Barnard student, you would continue to pay homeschool tuition if you study abroad with KCJS. And if you're a non-Columbia student, the program costs really depend upon your homeschool. There's various different billing arrangements. So really you're either charged KCJS tuition or you continue to pay your homeschool tuition. So you can check the KCJS website sort of for the breakdown for the different consortium members and kind of how this works if you're a visiting student. In terms of funding, I would encourage all of you to meet with your homeschool financial aid offices to talk a little bit about how financial aid can apply. Usually you can bring financial aid with you if KCJS is an approved program at your school, and if you're going during the semester and academic year. I just wanted to highlight one scholarship here. This is a national scholarship, the Bridging Project Scholarship. This is open to US citizens, all undergraduates. They give a stipend, which could apply to the KCJS program. And their application deadline is coming up fairly soon. So again, we have a link to the specific scholarship on our website. And so how to apply for the semester or full year program. I know many of you already have active applications for spring 2022 in our UGE site. And so if you haven't already done so, this is kind of how you get started. This is just our main KCJS website on the UGE site. You would just click the blue Start Your Application button there in the middle of the page, and then you get started. You would go ahead and complete the application by the spring 2022 deadline, which is coming up on October 1st. And whoops, back there, okay. And so really the application is pretty straightforward. You'll be asked to complete a couple of different questionnaires asking about your academic background, your Japanese language background. You'll need to complete a personal statement telling us a little bit about your goals that you hope to accomplish while you study abroad. We also require a language recommendation, and this should be from your most recent Japanese language instructor at your home school. We also ask for one academic recommendation, and this should be from someone who taught you at the university level who can attest to your academic skills. So again, this is a non-language course. You'll have to submit an unofficial transcript with the application. And then you'll also need to submit a homeschool approval form. So this is a form that you'd go over with your homeschool study abroad advisor, where they check off that you're in good academic and disciplinary standing, and that they grant you approval to study abroad on the program. If you're a Columbia student, you would go through the clearance process with me, and you'll see the clearance questionnaire in your online application. And this is kind of where I talk with you and we go over, just checking to make sure that you're making progress in your major with core requirements and things like that. So I would meet with Columbia students for the clearance portion. Okay, so that sort of wraps up our semester and academic year KCJS program. If anyone has questions, I would ask that you try and hold them just till the end. I'm also just going to briefly go through our 2 summer programs. So for those of you really planning ahead and looking ahead to summer 2022, I'll talk a little bit now about our modern program and our classical Japanese program. So our KCJS Summer Modern program ran virtually this past summer 2021. But again, we do hope that this will return in person to Kyoto for summer 2022. Our summer program really differs from the semester and academic year program in that the summer program focuses on Japanese language only for 8 weeks. So we offer 2nd, 3rd, and 4th year Japanese and above, and each course is worth 8 points each. And so the intensive curriculum really gives you the opportunity to complete a full year of one of these levels over 8 weeks. All students will note in your online application, when you're ready to apply, you'll note which Japanese level you hope to take, but the final course placement will really depend on the results of a placement test that all students will take on site in Kyoto. For the summer program, students take 3 50-minute classes Monday through Friday. For housing, we've offered 2 options in the past. One has been homestays arranged by KCJS. The other option is students are allowed to find apartments on their own. And we usually refer students to a couple of apartment leasing agencies that you can work with directly. And then in addition to the language instruction, we have a number of extracurricular activities that will be offered to provide insight into Japanese society and culture. And this past summer, even though it was virtual, the program offered, activities like lectures on Zen Buddhism, different meetups with local Japanese students, and even a Japanese confectionery arts workshop. So even though those things were virtual, this year, those are kind of examples of activities that they would offer on site as well. And our classical program also ran virtually this past summer, but is scheduled to return to Kyoto for summer 2022. And the classical program offers the Intro to Classical Japanese 1 and 2 courses, which will be taught by Professor Matthew Fraley from Brandeis University, and he's taught with KCJS for the past few summers. And the classical program is really designed for students who have proficiency in modern Japanese, but they usually haven't studied classical Japanese before. So the classical Japanese course is taught in English, and the course really offers a systematic, intensive introduction to the grammar of classical Japanese, which will enable you to read authentic texts with a dictionary by the end of the summer term. The classical Japanese courses meet for 4 hours a day for 5 days a week, and it is intensive like the modern program, since you're essentially completing 1 year of college level Japanese over the summer. And students who did the program this summer virtually had only really wonderful things to say about Professor Fraley and his knowledge and his passion for the course content. We have a lot of great student testimonials on our website if you want to check that out, as well as a video of Professor Fraley talking a bit more about his course. So who is eligible for these summer programs? Both the modern and classical Japanese programs are open to undergraduates and grad students in good academic and disciplinary standing. We've also had a number of recent undergraduates and grads apply. We're looking again for students who have a minimum 3.0 cumulative GPA and a minimum 3.0 GPA in their Japanese language courses. And then for modern Japanese, you'll see here the different numbers of or years of Japanese that you had to have completed before the program starts. So it's pretty much anywhere between 1 and 3 years. And then for classical Japanese, you have to have completed at least 3 years of college level Japanese or the equivalent. And so how to apply for the summer programs? It's very similar to the semester and academic year programs. The summer 2022 apps are not open just yet. They will probably open in early October. And then our deadline usually falls between February and March. But again, the components are very similar to the semester academic year application. There's a couple questionnaires, again, personal statement, unofficial transcript. For the modern Japanese program, we do require a language recommendation, again, from your most recent Japanese language course, and then a Japanese writing sample from a class. And for the classical Japanese program, we're looking for an academic recommendation at the university level. So again, this can be a non-language recommendation. The cost for the program, we still have the summer 2021 cost up on our website, and then next summer's fees, will be worked on over this fall, and those will be up on our website again later this fall. And so looking to summer funding opportunities, usually at least for Columbia students, you can't apply financial aid to summer terms. So students are often looking for funding opportunities. I've listed a couple of options here through the ELAC department and through the Weatherhead East Asian Institute. We have direct links on our site so you can kind of see who's eligible and the general amounts of the scholarships on our site. For non-Columbia students, I would recommend contacting your homeschool study abroad office or the financial aid office, or even your Japanese language departments there to learn about what funding options they have at your homeschool. So if you would like to learn more about any of our KCJS programs, if you haven't already done so, I encourage you to visit our website. So our main UGE Columbia website here is where you will access the online application. That's where you will find the program fees and things like that. Our main KCJS website managed by our staff in Kyoto, which is the second link here, that will include information and syllabi about all of the courses, housing, academic calendars. This will also have kind of all of the fun stuff like links to the Facebook page, Instagram, YouTube channels, the CIP blog that I mentioned, kind of all of that fun stuff. So definitely check out both websites as you're kind of exploring the programs. And also keep your eye out for different virtual alumni talks that the KCJS staff will probably be organizing throughout the fall term. As I mentioned, this program has been running for over 30 years, and our KCJS staff has really kept in contact with a lot of the alumni. And so they've started hosting these different talks because now these KCJS alumni are working in all different fields in Japan and the US, kind of around the world. And they give these great talks about, what they're doing now, how they got to where they are, and how KCJS has really impacted their career or just their life in general. So check those out. And then if you'd like to work, more in depth with UGE with our office, we offer study abroad first steps advising. So these are online virtual kind of drop-in advising sessions for about 15 minutes each, where you can speak with an advisor to ask some general questions about study abroad. We also are holding a number of info sessions like this virtually this term. We also have a number of advisors in our office that work with different countries, different portfolios of programs, and we're happy to meet with you to talk about your specific interests. Definitely follow us on Instagram, and you can request to be added to our listserv so you can receive additional information about different events and information sessions that we have coming up this fall. And here's our QR code if you want to scan that and go directly to our UGE site. And then finally, as I mentioned, I work directly with the KCJS program. And so I'm happy to meet with each of you, via Zoom or via phone for a one-on-one advising appointment, if that will be helpful. I've listed my advising hours here. You can schedule an appointment on my calendar via the UGE website. I'm also happy to meet with you outside of these times as well. And so that is all that I have today. I'm also happy now at this point, I'll just stop the recording here.